who attain something realize something very, very profound in human consciousness. There's that. But more than that, it's also this kind of possibility in human consciousness of realizing something very profound. So it's a very optimistic thing to say for me, homage to the Buddha. And obviously, I'm a monk, so I get a bit of extra oomph from that, because it really works for me. It works well for me. So if you don't need to do this ritual, but if you do it, like this Buddha image is a replica of the image we'll have in our new Dhamma hall. When you see that image, you can use it as a way of focus, as a way of awakening. So in our tradition, we do a lot of bowing. We just how much bowing do we do? This is Venerable Padipo. I'm sorry, he's my companion. He's from Mexico. Venerable Padipo, carrier of light, giver of light. Okay. So these rituals can be really, really useful, because if you have a way of preparing your mind for meditation, where you bring up an attitude or a perspective that really helps, rather than just kind of plonking down, I got to get my half an hour in because I have to do the dishes too, and so on. So these things, they're not necessary, but I ordained in Thailand, so I was fortunate to learn these rituals from Ajahn Chah and others, and I found them very, very helpful. So say the flowers in the shrine represent moral purity, precepts. Candle represents the light which dispels darkness, panya. Usually there's incense, but I cough on incense, so we've truncated the tradition. We're allowed to do that. Incense usually refers to meditation, focus of the mind. And obviously, like a shrine, if you care for it, and you really are sensitive to that's beautiful, isn't it? Isn't it? And that beauty can uplift the mind. Can bring you into a meditation which isn't just kind of hard work, because meditation can be hard work. So this ritual that we do, homage first of all, and then the refuges, Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha. So we use the Pali language, and in Sanskrit it would be Dharma. You're probably more used to Dharma rather than the Dhamma. And here I use the word Buddha in a different way, and that's the awakened mind. And Dharma is the truth of the way things are. Sometimes Dharma is referred to as the doctrine, but the truth of the way, but the doctrine points to the immediacy of how this moment is. So we say Buddha knowing Dharma, practicing as Sangha. Sangha is both the community and the values that the community upholds of moral integrity and compassion and generosity and all those good things. So Buddha knowing Dharma is the way we talk. And the word knowing is obviously very, very important. And what do we mean by knowing? Well, this room is going to get hot, right? And we've been doing retreats here for 20 years, and we always hope for no heat. But it looks like the weatherman is going to give us heat, okay? So we've never got the temperature right in this room when it's hot. Okay, have we? No. So then, we open windows, close the windows, get the air conditioning on, get it off, and then no one is happy because we cannot get it right. And then, why does she put on the air conditioner? It's too hot. Why is the air conditioner? That's not really what we mean by knowing. You know you're grumpy. But you don't know it as Dharma. Right? Knowing as Dharma is, I don't like the heat. Feels this way. And that's a huge difference, right? The difference between this kind of personal storyline narrative involvement with the discomfort that you're feeling, and then the personal storyline narrative that you shouldn't feel this way about what you're feeling. That's not That's not what we know, what we mean by Buddha knowing Dharma. Buddha knowing Dharma is that the Dharma of this experience is unpleasant, hot, sweaty, whatever it is, and it feels this way. And that always takes you to the background of experience. The foreground is the sense experience, comfort, discomfort, like, dislike, all that. And the background is silence, is awareness, is silence, is peaceful. So when we say Buddha, like Ajahn Sumedho used to, his retreats were always, the early retreats, it'd say, the past is the memory, future is unknown, now is the knowing. So what do we mean by knowing? And that's terribly important, terribly important. So when we take refuge in Buddha knowing Dharma, it's simply like just sitting here, making no comment, allowing this moment to be just as it is, and that silent knowing, and whatever the experience is Dharma, Buddha knowing Dharma. And it's ineffable because you can't really nail it down like as a concept, but it is true. This moment is true, right? Your moment might be experienced in a different way, sure, and the truth of that is it's not an intellectual truth. It's a presence of knowing, and that presence is really the secret of discovering the deep peace that exists in consciousness. So it'll be a practice for me, for Jane. Jane will be worried because she's organizing the retreat, and how do we get this right? Because everyone tries very hard to make it right. But if you're practicing in Buddha, taking refuge in Buddha Dharma and Buddha knowing Dharma, what's not practice? Like, is a hot, sweaty room not practice? No, it's practice. And what is practice? Is it like grin and bear it? Yeah, another hour of that hot sweat. I'm exaggerating this. But that's not practice either, just endurance. Practice is like sustained, awakened knowing of the way things are. Right? And then Sangha is the qualities of so we practice as a Sangha, we practice as a community now, we take care of each other, we help each other. And one of the ways we can help each other is by practicing noble silence. Really, it's an incredible opportunity to just be with yourself and be with whatever's going on in your own mind. And this is a very, very beautiful environment. We have that. So that's refuges, Buddha Dhamma Sangha. And then the 8 precepts are both moral and renunciant precepts. So I guess we should go through it. Yeah. So not killing, not stealing, not lying. In this case, right speech is going to be noble silence. Practicing celibacy. Celibacy is not a moral rule. It's a renunciant rule. It's just to make life simple. So we could go through the whole ritual if you'd like. So perhaps we could turn to your books. What page we got, Jane?
131.
Are you in charge of heating?
Yeah.
No, I'm not complaining. I'm just commiserating.
I just turned the air conditioners off, thinking it would be quieter.
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, it's fine. No.
But one thing I forgot was to get someone who wanted to request for.
The precepts?
Yeah.
Is it 8 precept? 5?
Yeah,
8.
131. On page 131.
So just in our ritual formats, usually a layperson, I think Moon's going to do it, asks for the precepts, and then I give them, but I don't really give them. It's like, you should have them already kind of thing, right? But we do the ritual anyway. So it's a ritual of determination and setting forth the kind of structure we're going to live in. Please.
Mayam Bhante Tisaranya Saha Atta Silani Icham Vidadhyampi Mayam Bhante Tisaranya Saha Atta Silani Icham Mayam Bhante. Titiyampi Mayam Bhante. Tisranasa Artisilani Vichama.
So everyone goes to 133 and just follow along. Most of you know this. So. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang saranang gacchami.
Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dhammang saranang gacchami.
Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Sanghang saranang gacchami.
Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Titiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Titiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Titiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami.
Titiyampi Buddhang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami.
Titiyampi Dhammang Saranang Gacchami.
Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami.
Titiyampi Sanghang Saranang Gacchami.
Flip the page. I'll say Tisaranagamana Niktitang and you'll say Amabante. Tisaranagamana Niktitang.
Abhamante.
And the 8 precepts, some of you might not know the Pali, so maybe I'll just do word by word in the Pali, and then I'll do the English in one line. And where's the curious one? The 8th precept. I undertake the precept to refrain from lying on a high, luxurious sleeping place, which is really weird. But, religion can do weird. So. And it refers to luxury. It refers to too much company. You're so comfortable under your duvet, you never get out of it. It's that kind of intention. Anyway, word by word. I'll do it word by word in the Pali, okay? Panatipata.
Panipata.
Veramani.
Viradhammo.
Sikkhapadang.
Sikkhapadang.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking the life of any living creature.
Adinadana.
Adinadana.
Veramani.
Viradhammo.
Sikkhapadang.
Sikkhapadang.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from taking that which is not given. Habrahmacharya.
Abhamacharya.
Veramani.
Viradhammo.
Sikkhapadang.
Sikkhapadang.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity.
I undertake the precept to refrain from any intentional sexual activity.
Musawada.
Musawada.
Veramani.
Viradhammo.
Sikkhapadang.
Sikkhapadang.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from lying. Suramerya.
Suramerya.
Majja.
Majja.
Pamadatana.
Pamadana.
Veramani.
Viradhammo.
Sikkhapadang.
Sikkhapadang.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and drugs which lead to carelessness.
I undertake the precept to refrain from consuming intoxicating drink and carelessness.
Vikala bhojana.
Vikala bhojana.
Veramani.
Viradhammo.
Sikkhapadang.
Sikkhapadang.
Samadhiyami.
Samadhiyami.
I undertake the precept to refrain from eating at inappropriate times. Nachagita vadita. Visukadassana,
Visukadassana,
Malaganda Vilepana,
Malaganda Vilepana,
Dharana,
Padana,
Mandana,
Madana,
Vipusanatana,
Viputasatana,
Veramani Sikapadang Samatiyami.
Viramani Sikhapadam Samadhyami.
And to take the precept to refrain from entertainment, beautification, and adornment. Uchasayana,
Uchasayana,
Mahasayana,
Mahasayana,
Veramani,
Viramani,
Sikapadang,
Sikhapadam
Samatiyami.
Samadhyami.
I'm going to take the precept to refrain from lying in a high, luxurious sleeping place. Imani atasikapadani samatiyami. You say that 3 times. Flip the page. Imani, go ahead.
Imani Atta Sikhapadam Samadhyami. Imani Atta Sikhapadam Samadhyami. Imani Atta Sikhapadani Samadhyami.
Silena suktingyanti silena boga sampata silena niputingyanti tasama silang visotaye. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
Sadhu, sadhu.
All right. So, okay, so everyone that's joining us on Zoom, welcome. I can't see who you are, but anyway, welcome, join us. So, I think knowing is important, right? I think to really get that, when we use that word, what that really implies. So, let's say same kind of example. Let's say I have a meeting with the neighbor down the road at the gatehouse, and we've had an argument. And we're going to have some kind of facilitator sitting in on us and sorting out our differences. So I'm walking down the hill, and I'm worried. And I know I'm worried, but that's not necessarily what we mean by knowing. And then I get part of the way down, and I realize, wow, worry feels like this. Now I know Dharma. It doesn't mean that the worry goes away. It would be nice. It's not like that. It's not like that. The emotions are conditioned through all kinds of things, and it is a worrisome thing maybe in that way. But as soon as I awaken, and this is what we mean by the awakened mind, it's not like some fantastic Satori experience. It's actually quite simple. It's just more like a remembering, isn't it? Like, oh wow, this is worry. Worry feels this way. You start to get the background, the space and the silence. And even like when, like say in this case, worry is quite strong. You say, what does worry really feel like? When you inquire into the nature of worry, you get the agitation of the body, thinking coming, but you also notice there's always a silence there. There's always a silence presence of consciousness. And that's not something that's judging the world or making anything out of it. It's just knowing. It's just knowing. So do see the difference between knowing you feel grumpy and actually knowing grumpiness as an object. Knowing in the sense of being the subject that is grumpy, and actually, oh, grumpiness feels this way. And really, that's what the whole path is encouraging us to do, is to awaken, and that's always the first step. We've started. We're building a meditation hall at Tisarana, which is going on very nicely. And I remember asking the Dave Bout, the builder, said, "Wow, this is daunting. How do you guys do this?" And he said, "One step at a time." And it's very, very true. It's very true. Like training the inner world is hard. I don't know about you. I've never found it easy. The emotions and the memories and the self-identities and all kinds of stuff, and then the information we get. I've never found. I find it interesting, and to some extent, maybe now because I'm older. Early days it wasn't so interesting, but it is. I think it is daunting work. It is work. There is, you get someone dies in the family, or you get some shock to this, like Sergeant Pavaro now. He's got really bad shingles. Poor guy. He looks like 100. He looks like he's aged 5 years in 5 days, right? And that's that's daunting practice. That's really, really daunting practice. And yet, what do you have no choice, or go crazy, right? And it always begins with this simple awakening. That's always the first step. That's always the first step, and the last step in some sense. And hopefully none of us get ill, and we're all very healthy. We've had a lot of ill health over at late, so he and I, the healthiest, we kind of felt bad leaving. Because Venerable Owner Siri is going to have his ankle operated on finally on the 8th of September. And he just had an E. coli infection, and then Sirimato had the flu, so he's tough, and I'm tough. So we're here. Anyway, they said they could handle it. And we got a lot of guests coming this weekend. Anyway, whatever it is, the capacity to awaken is always there. The capacity to concentrate sometimes isn't there. The emotions are so strong, the capacity to be cool, it's not always there. But you can always awaken. You can always know the way things are. And sometimes from that basis, then one can make suggestions, don't go there. So if my mind is just in a sort of low-level whinge, just kind of complaining in a kind of, not in a passionate way, just because it's a habit, I say, no, I don't think I'll go there. And I cannot go there. I cannot think that way. But sometimes, maybe there's a real catastrophic thing going on in life, and it's not, you have no choice. You can kind of just survive the strength of the emotion. But whatever it is, the more, my sense of it is, the more one begins to really take seriously this sense of refuge, Buddha knowing Dharma, and you do it a lot. You really get really, really diligent, 24/7, all the time, not just on the cushion. You begin to intuit that your real home is awareness. Your real home is peace. Your identity is that. It is not the emotions or the gender or the nationality, whatever you want. Those are the kind of environments we live in, sure. I live in the emotional environment of my conditioning. You live in the emotional environment of your conditioning. Some are better, some are worse. So sure, we have to be with all of that. And taking refuge in Buddha knowing Dharma isn't necessarily mean that your experience, emotional, physical, is pleasant. It's not, because pleasant and unpleasant really are just factors of sense experience. You can't have pleasure and without pain. You can have pain without pleasure. It's just the nature of it. So this is to some extent what we mean by transcendence. You don't transcend life's experiences, but you get to a sort of background where then the flow of life is as it is. You respond to it as best you can, but that's not your real home. That's beautiful, really. It really is. Huh? So in a retreat, we have a week together, thanks to the organizers of the retreat. Much gratitude to everyone for doing this every year, and to the folk that run Galilee and all of that. So we have a chance now to abide as the background rather than sort out the foreground. Jane will sort out the foreground for us, and Bob will sort out the foreground for us, etc., etc. And so hats off to them. So the best way to do a retreat is just to kind of give up. Give up trying to get enlightened. Give up trying to get the experience that you really thought was like almost enlightenment and that you've been trying to get for 10 years. Give up trying to get the thing you read in the book, which sounds cool. Give it all up. And just take it one moment at a time. It's like this, it's like this, it's like this. And then try to see that meditation isn't about control. I think all of us, I don't know about you, when I started meditation, it was all about control. You know, like forcing myself to sit longer. No, I gotta sit longer. And then forcing myself on the breath, and forcing myself to count the number of steps I was taking, and forcing myself to count the number of... I don't want to live life this way. It's a horrible way to live life. And that was about control, because I thought, well, that's what I had to do. I had to control the mind. And I had to control my fears and angers. And it didn't work. And Ajahn Sumedho said, that's not why you have to awaken to it. To awaken to fear or anger is different than just thinking you shouldn't have fear and anger. So the awakened mind, anything, it's all material, grist for the mill. So if you make that the bottom line, awakening to the way things are, and whatever happens, you allow it to be what it is, then you can make choices. You know, then you can start to make choices of skill. You can, your mind is rattling on about some problem at home, and you can go to the body. Oh yeah, that's what that feels like. You can go to the breath. Oh, that's what that feels like. But it's always coming from the awakened mind rather than just a reaction to some emotional mental state which you're trying to get rid of or avoid or whatever. And so from that awakened mind you can experiment. You can just try stuff. Right? You can just try mantra, or try doing nothing, or focusing on the breath really, really hard, or not focusing on the breath, or counting your breaths. But it's never from a sense of trying to get something, but it's how can I sustain the awakened mind. I think the key word for me in terms of enlightenment is akalika dhamma. And akaliko is timeless. It's not a matter of time. Sense experience is a matter of time. In other words, it will become dark and then it'll become light. You will feel inspired or you'll feel doubtful. These will come and go. That's their nature. Huh? But so anything that comes and goes cannot be the liberating quality of consciousness, because it's changing. So akaliko, timelessness, is, you're not awakening to look for some other experience. You're awakened to this experience. And that's very hard to do when the experience is unpleasant, because you want it to change. So the beauty of a retreat is like it's all done for us, right? It's all kind of set up for us. And you can just if like Ajahn Chah would say, if you want to meditate, meditate. If you don't want to meditate, meditate. You want to sit in the shrine room? Like if it's time to sit in the shrine room, I'd rather not. Those people, they move around so much. Sit in the shrine room. Like if you start picking and choosing, you can. I'm not going to police it, and I pick and choose too. So, but the more you kind of give up to it, and you just watch. Okay, this is liking. This is disliking. This was a good meditation. This was a terrible meditation. All those definitions we have all the time. You're emphasizing a background which is timeless, which is not dependent on pain and pleasure, not dependent on success and failure. It's silent, it's knowing. And the more you do that, then when there's difficult material that comes up, like maybe some regret or some remorse or some grieving, that's all right. Grieving is this way, loss feels this way. Huh? And then just see what happens if you do that for 7 days, right? And if it doesn't work, then you can fire me. But give it a go, right? Kind of really, really make a determination to make that very, very simple practice of awakening something right from when you wake up. You wake up in the morning, your mind's going to be dealing with the dream states, right? Or whatever you went to sleep with, one or the other, right? So if you went to sleep with worry, you'll wake up with worry. It just works that way. Sorry, it doesn't give you a break. Or if you had a rough night, then you'll wake up groggy. If you had a good night, you'll wake up radiant or whatever. But what does it really mean to wake up in the morning? Oh, the mind state is like this. The thinking mind is like this. And you keep bringing yourself back to the silence of the mind, brushing your teeth, having a coffee, whatever you will. And then whatever mood of the mind is, try to see it as a mood rather than a personal problem. So if you feel like Yeah, like let's say day 4 you want to leave. Fine, don't leave. Day 5 you want to meditate forever. Fine, just one day at a time. So it's actually very, very simple that way. And the kind of techniques or things that I'll suggest are really just to try to sustain the sense of awakening. Attitudes, I talk more about attitudes. So if I talk about mindfulness of breathing, it'll be my awareness with breathing. And if I talk about emotions, awareness with emotions. Physical pain, awareness with physical pain. So it's always awareness with, awareness with, awareness with. And then that theme of awareness begins to pique our curiosity, I think, that, well, what is awareness? What is consciousness? And then the mind turns to the mind. And so you know that the structure of the Four Noble Truths, which I always quote from Ajahn Dun, the mind going outside is the problem. The result of the mind going outside is suffering. The mind knowing the mind is the path. The result of the mind knowing the mind is the end of suffering. So I'm walking down the hill and I have this confrontation or reconciliation with the neighbor. And I'm worried. I'm thinking worry. That's the mind going outside. Hanging on to that. Oh, what am I going to do? And then the mind knowing the mind. Oh, worry feels this way. That's the end of suffering. It's not the end of worry. Because worry is just an emotion that's been programmed into there because of all kinds of other things. So the end of suffering isn't necessarily like, at some level, say, Luang Por Liam or Enlightened Masters, yeah, you read about that. But if we make it something quite ordinary, that the end of suffering is when you know the way things are. So I know, oh, worry feels this way. And I don't have to fix it. It'll change by itself. Its nature is to change. And trust in that. Just trust in that. So the mind going outside. And that outside isn't like listening to the neighbor's chainsaw or something like that. It's going out into thoughts or objects. The mind goes out into and hangs on to. Emotions are objects. Physical feelings are objects. But they all arise and cease in awareness. All of this comes and goes in awareness. And that's the kind of themes I really like to emphasize. So it's getting on. You're probably tired and so on. So tomorrow I think we start at 6, correct? Yeah. And then we'll just proceed from there. Okay, I'll finish there.
Annamayam Dhammakataya Sadhu Karam Dadamase Sadhu 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 Anumodami.
And we could chant the verses of loving kindness on page
Page 36, 37.
36, 37. Really? 36, 37. We'll do the English on 37. Okay, everyone got that? 37. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties, and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm, and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove, wishing in gladness and in safety. May all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another, or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another, even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upwards to the skies and downwards to the depths, outwards and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, or lying down, freed from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding, by not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into this room. And we do the closing homage. On what page is that? Araham, araham, araham. Where is that?
16.
16, yeah. We've closed at page 16. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Bhutang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Swakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Savaka Sangho Sangham Namami. Malati, you came all the way from Sri Lanka. And Richard's, Malati's from Sri Lanka, Richard's come from Michigan, Amita's come from UK.
Wow.